Right, so today I'm going to be speaking about darkness to light, and it's going to be connecting it to Danger Hospital in Niger. So the Bible passage today is from Colossians 1, 9 to 14. For this reason, since the day we heard about you, we have not stopped praying for you. We continually ask God to fill you with the knowledge of his will through all the wisdom and understanding that the Spirit gives, so that you may live a life worthy of the Lord and please him in every way, bearing fruit in every good work, growing in the knowledge of God, being strengthened with all power according to his glorious might, so that you may have great endurance and patience, and giving joyful thanks to the Father, who has qualified you to share in the inheritance of his holy people in the kingdom of light. For he has rescued us from the dominion of darkness and brought us into the kingdom of his Son he loves, in whom we have redemption and forgiveness of our sins. Right. I'm going to see if the clicker works. Hopefully it works. Yay, there we go. Now, if you had a superpower, what would it be? Maybe you would like the ability to fly. You'd be able to see incredible landscapes and feel free as a bird. That's especially true across Wales. It's beautiful here. Or maybe you would like super speed. That would make getting from one place to another really simple, wouldn't it? Or perhaps super strength. That would make moving house really easy. Or maybe you would like my favorite one, the ability to speak and understand every language on earth. How cool would that be? What about the ability to not feel any pain? A young man called Adam, living in Libya, stopped feeling pain in his hands. He could hold his hand in a fire, and he felt nothing. He used to do that to impress his friends when he was young. But his laughter quickly turned to fear. With the gift of pain being taken away, his hands got burnt, and then they got infected. His fingers became so damaged that you couldn't recognize them as fingers anymore. Adam was bullied at school, hated by his neighbors, and the local barber even refused to cut his hair. His extended family were scared, and they stayed away from him. The local doctors couldn't help him. Adam had leprosy. They thought that leprosy didn't exist in Libya, but they were wrong. Leprosy is an ancient disease, but every 2 minutes, someone around the world is diagnosed. Now, to put that into context, your kettle takes about 2 minutes to boil. So every time you boil the kettle, that's someone being diagnosed around the world. Suppose that you are 11 years old and you're told that you have leprosy. With that one word, you feel a darkness come over you. In your dreams, you'd pictured yourself in a light and spacious room with lots of doors, all open to different opportunities. However, now you picture yourself in that same room, but it's dark. And when you stumble across a door, that door is locked. You feel trapped, as if all the choices that you could have had are closed off to you. You wonder, will I be able to keep going to school, get a job, get married, have a family, hold my grandchildren one day? In the darkness, you think the answer to those questions is no, and that there is no future for you anymore. The way that you're treated by others puts you into a deep, deep despair. People tell you that you're cursed or being punished by God. You get death threats. You isolate yourself. And after a while, you even forget what it sounds like to hear other people speaking to you. You need to be rescued. Adam needed to be rescued. But the entire time, God had his hand on Adam's life. Adam reached out to a specialist in leprosy at the United Nations, and his messages were heard. The leprosy mission was able to help him. They helped Adam escape to Niger for treatment. Adam was referred to Danja Hospital, where he found love, dignity, and care. He found treatment, and he found acceptance. But best of all, his healing transformed his heart. Adam had grown up hating Jesus. He thought that Christianity was darkness. But at Danja Hospital, God worked a miracle in his heart. His hatred was replaced by love. He realized that Jesus loved him, and he became a follower of Jesus. Adam felt like he'd moved from darkness into light. Paul uses this imagery in his letter to the church in Colossae, which is a small city in modern-day Turkey. Now, this is not a church that Paul planted himself, and in fact, Paul was probably in a prison in Rome at the time when he wrote this letter. But that doesn't stop him from praying this amazing prayer over the Christians there. Towards the end of that prayer, Paul says, "The Father has qualified you to share in the inheritance of his holy people in the kingdom of light." That word inheritance means a portion or a share. The Christians in Colossae share something from God with the rest of God's people. They share in the kingdom of light, eternal life with God. Why? Because God has qualified them. That word qualified means to be made sufficient. God has made them sufficient to share in his kingdom of light. How? Well, in verse 14, it says, "For he has rescued us from the dominion of darkness and brought us into the kingdom of the Son he loves, in whom we have redemption, the forgiveness of sins." That word "for" is because. God has qualified us because he has rescued us out of one kingdom, darkness, and brought us into the kingdom of his Son, light. God has done it all. It's nothing that we bring to the table, but all of his work. Firstly, rescued from darkness. I don't know about you, but words like saved or delivered can lose their impact because you hear them quite often. But the word rescued in Greek means that you are physically dragged out of danger. That's quite an impactful word, isn't it? That's what God has done for us. He has rescued us by redeeming us and buying us with a price that most people wouldn't be willing to pay. Jesus' blood was shed for us. It's like in that great hymn, "Praise my soul, the King of heaven says, ransomed, healed, restored, forgiven." That's you. If you know God, you have been rescued. Wow. Secondly, brought into light. The Greek word translated "brought into" means physically moved from one position to another. It's as if God, picked up this water, put it from my left hand or right hand into my left. It's a good excuse. Maybe you find it hard to empathize with this image of being brought from one kingdom into another, if you've been a Christian for a long time. But even if it hasn't felt like a dramatic shift, God physically dragged you from one kingdom into another. Now, other people may have actually felt a dramatic shift similar to Adam, where you are physically moved from one position to another. Regardless of what we feel, The truth is, God went on a rescue mission for you and me. In November 2021, 38-year-old George Linney was caving in Britain's deepest cave in the Brecon Beacons, which is 275 meters below the ground and is part of the longest cave system in Britain, which is 38 miles long. On a Saturday afternoon, George had planned to do some caving before going for a lovely pub dinner. Now, doesn't that sound like a nice plan? But in a flash, George slipped off an underground ledge and fell. He said, 1 minute I was caving, and the next it went black. When George came around, he was in massive pain. He broke his leg, his wrist, his jaw, and ribs, as well as having a dislocated clavicle, a collapsed lung, and a lacerated spleen. I don't know about you, but that sounds really painful to me. He wanted to fall asleep to stop the pain, but one of his friends spoke to him for 3 hours straight to keep him alert. It took a total of 54 hours with over 300 people from across the United Kingdom to carry George to safety. But he was alive. What a rescue. Maybe, spiritually, you might not feel that you need to be rescued. But as we've all read, even if you don't recognize it, before you are a follower of Jesus, you are living in darkness. Just as much in need of being brought to light as George was. Before we know Jesus, you're stumbling around, living for ourselves, and not understanding who we were made to live for. But God transferred us into a different place, a kingdom of light. It's like we've been physically moved, just like George was put on a stretcher, taken from the blackness of the cave, and brought into the daylight. What a gift it is to be in Jesus' kingdom of light. If you are here today and you think, I don't think I've ever said yes to Jesus, please do speak to someone after the service, preferably someone on the leadership team, I would imagine. You can speak to me as well. I don't mind talking about that sort of thing. But please, please speak to someone. Thirdly, bringing others into light. George was asked, would you ever go into a cave again? And his answer, surprisingly, was yes. He became a member of a cave rescue team. He decided that having been brought into light, he wanted to give back to others. He wanted to bring others into light. When you've been brought into the kingdom of light by God, don't you want to help bring light to others? Now imagine that you're feeling unwell. You go to A&E. You know that there's probably going to be a long wait, and you feel a bit anxious because you don't really know what's going on. Even so, you can rely on the fact that there will be a dry place for you to sit, there will be a toilet for you to go to, there will be clean drinking water. Now imagine, when you get there, there are holes in the roof. It looks like it's about to collapse. You have to step over huge cracks in a broken floor, and there's no running water for you to drink while you wait. Then you go to the toilet. They are so damaged and filthy that you dread having to go again. Now imagine that your mobility is limited by disability, so you have to struggle outside to find somewhere to go to the toilet in the open air. Just let that sink in for a minute. Sadly, that's the reality of Danja Hospital in Niger, where Adam got treatment. It is heartbreaking, but God's love remains. Danja Hospital is more than just a building. It's a lifeline. It's a place of refuge for people affected by leprosy. Together, we can restore this place of sanctuary. You won't just be renovating a ward, as important as that is. You'll be enabling patients with leprosy to be treated with dignity. So we're going to try and watch a short film. It should work, but you never know. And it does have subtitles in case the sound doesn't work, so I'm hoping and praying that it works. So Adam is going to tell you his story. You might. There we go.
Niger, one of the hottest, driest, and poorest countries in the world, battered by extreme weather, political instability, and terrorism. Frequent droughts mean water is scarce. Most people here are hand-to-mouth farmers, but growing enough food in this barren terrain is almost impossible. Extreme poverty and lack of healthcare means leprosy is attacking men, women, and tragically, children too. Like an oasis of hope in the desert stands Danja Hospital. Its light shines out across the wilderness. It's the light of Jesus, carrying his rescue plan for the outcast, for people like Adam who grew up in Libya.
When I was 11, my legs started to feel weak when I tried to run. I shrugged it off as a virus. But within 2 years, I'd lost the feeling in my hands and feet. I was scared, but I'd laugh with my friends that I had a superpower, holding my hand in a fire and not feeling pain. When the burns became infected and started destroying my fingers, I knew I was really sick. My family went from doctor to doctor, but no one could provide answers. I refused to give up, and I finally found someone online at the World Health Organization who diagnosed me from photos. I was given the cure at a local hospital, but the doctor didn't mention leprosy. The Libyan government says this disease doesn't exist in my country. Leprosy ruined my childhood. I was bullied at school and no one would play games with me anymore. When I was 15, I had to leave school. I couldn't hold a pen or play football. My fingernails fell off. My nose sunk into my face. My wider family was so scared of me, they stayed away. I was frightened about the future and so depressed. As more and more people found out that I had leprosy, the hatred towards me grew. I was taught that leprosy is a curse from God, a punishment. I kept asking my father what sin I was being punished for. I wanted to speak out against the injustice faced by people like me, but that was a big mistake. When my face appeared on social media, I was beaten and threatened. For a year, I didn't leave the house. I forgot people and voices. Death threats hung over me like a dark shadow. I didn't know then that God had planned my rescue. My messages to a leprosy specialist in the UN were read, and then came a message from the leprosy mission. They were going to help me to escape to Niger for treatment. My life was saved. After a long and dangerous journey, I arrived here at Danja Hospital. The facilities are basic, but the staff do the best they can, and my health is slowly improving. There is no discrimination here, just love. We laugh and joke like family. I didn't understand where this love came from, but now I know it is Jesus' love. I gave my life to him in 2024 and was baptized soon after. Jesus has changed my life. I grew up hating different races, hating Christians and Jews, but now I forgive the people who hate me. The Bible says, don't repay evil with evil. Now I am filled with love.
Today, the leprosy wards at Danja Hospital are in a critical condition. The building is unsafe. Crumbling ceilings and walls and broken floors mean that infection control is impossible. The toilets are not fit for purpose, and patients have to struggle on disabled feet to relieve themselves outside. This is God's hospital in Niger, and together with His blessing, we can transform the wards and living conditions for people with leprosy. Will you help us to continue to show Jesus' love by providing a safe and comfortable refuge for patients, for people like Adam who need to be rescued from abuse and hatred? A gift of £27 buys 3 meters of new roof. £73 provides 50 kilograms of cement. £151 funds 35 large non-slip floor tiles. £1,311 builds a new bathroom and toilets for the leprosy ward. Thank you, and God bless you.
Isn't it wonderful that we've been brought into the kingdom of light and we have access to God through prayer? Please join me in praying regularly for those affected by leprosy. I do have some prayer diaries with me if anyone wants to collect one after the service. If you feel maybe that you can't give a gift today, giving regularly is another option. It costs £24 to cure one person of leprosy. That includes providing them with the cure, as well as physiotherapy and emotional therapy for them as well, and finding a way for them to make a life for themselves, usually in one of our training centres. Bankura is one in particular that you guys support, but we do have vocational training centres across a number of the countries that we work in, so that is a really big thing that we do focus on. £8 a month would cure 4 people every year. Now, £8 a month is actually less than it costs to buy a coffee and a cake. Shocking as that is. I used to be able to say it's the price of a coffee and a cake, but actually I've been to a few cafes recently and it's about £5-6 for a coffee, and then a cake's like £3 or £4, so it kind of works out to a lot more than that actually, which is kind of shocking, but it's probably going to keep going up. Maybe soon I'll be able to say £24 is the price of a coffee and a cake. You can cure one person every time you have one. Hopefully not. That would be a bit extreme. But if you did want to give a gift today, £27 provides 3 meters of new roof, £73 provides a 50-kilo bag of cement, and £1,311 builds an entire new bathroom and toilet. For those of you like me that don't carry any cash, I do have my little card machine. So please do speak to me after the service. Thank you so much for showing your love towards people like Adam. You're doing so much more than repairing a building. You're offering a physical rescue and an opportunity for many people to meet Jesus for the first time. A number of the countries we work in are not Christian countries, so a lot of these people will never have heard or seen of what Jesus can do for them. So it's an incredible gift that we're able to do that as well. That's better than any superpower. Because of you, people with leprosy will be able to move from darkness into light, and they will be able to feel love and experience a new life.